You're watching Medically Speaking. I am your host, Meenakshi Upreti. Today, we'll be taking our campaign on freedom against violence from doctors a little further. If you have been following our show, we have taken up this campaign ever since Independence Day. We're asking a very pertinent question as all of us are waiting for that impending third wave. Are the doctors, those who serve us, our saviors, are they free from violence? Do they feel safe in an independent country when they do their duty? We have spoken to many doctors. We've spoken to AIMS panels as well. We've spoken to IMA, DMA representatives. Today, I have those sometimes who are in the forefront and those really who are medicos. These are young doctors, those who, some aspiring to be doctors, junior doctors we see in news reports also are the ones who get assaulted at the first. Let's take a look at what they have to say. Let's take a look at their point of view, what they have to say on this topic, and let's look at cogent and coherent solutions. With me today, I'd like to welcome my panelists. I have Dr. Manikandan. He is the National Joint Secretary of IMA Junior Doctors Network. I also have Arka Chatterjee. He is the President of Students Association of AIMS from Bhubaneswar. Welcome, both of you. I'm going to start first with you, Dr. Manikandan. Manikandan, my first question to you. When we speak of junior doctors, we've seen you all really at the forefront, unfortunately, of these assaults, of these attacks. One, why do you think that is the case? And second, I specifically ask you as a junior doctor, because last week when I had the AIMS panel, cardiologists, psychologists, senior professors from AIMS, all of them had a unanimous view that casualty, which is the most sensitive, where perhaps you need someone with more experience, maybe more sensitive communication skills talking to the patient. Instead of that, a junior doctor is sent all by themselves to talk to agitated patients and talk to them in an hour of agony. Do you think that's adding to the aggression at all? And if yes, what should be done about it?
Yes, thank you. Okay, as you said rightly, junior doctors are the one who is getting repeatedly assaulted at every front of the violence, because casualty is the place, is a hotspot where the people come with very severe emergency cases. So while dealing with the emergency cases, there will be a senior doctors besides us, but they will not be there all the time.
Yeah.
Okay. Admitting the patient, they are handling the patient, and they will shift to some other case or some other work, they will move along. But we are the one who will be sitting in the casualty and seeing the common OPs. During the night time, we will see the common OPs and emergency cases, and continuously managing the emergency cases, we will be there. So when a patient comes, he will bring, when any emergency cases comes, he will bring like 10 to 15 attendants with him. So they will be waiting outside the casualty. Even the senior doctor first explained to them regarding the seriousness of the issue. Some of them who are not accompanying during the time of admission, they will come later and they will ask question to the junior doctors, and if they are not satisfied with the answers we are giving, they will start assaulting us. According to the Indian Medical Association's reports, 75% of the junior doctors have faced violence in their workplace. So this is a sick mindset of the layman, of public regarding the doctors. So as you said,
okay,
it's not because of
I get your point. So you're saying it's the attitude, the mindset which needs to change. But I'm going to take what you just said a little more further. Now, as far as, junior doctors, perhaps doctors in all government institutions especially, are concerned, and Arka, perhaps you could come in here. Manikandan spoke about how the doctors are overworked. You all have to do night shifts. You all have to see multiple patients. AIMS, of course, one of the most overburdened hospitals in the entire country. We all know the abysmal patient-to-bed ratio, patient-to-doctor ratio is the sort of stress and the gap between demand and supply, the expectations of people and what infrastructure, the manpower you all have at your disposal. Is that disparity increasing the anger, the agony, anxiety amongst these extremely agonized and anxious relatives, kin of the patients?
Absolutely. So like what you said, the abysmal doctor-patient ratio and the gross lack of facilities that we have, especially in the government sector, which on which a majority of our Indian population is dependent for healthcare, that is not one of the drivers, but that is one of the prime drivers of the kind of agony and of the kind of really dysfunctional healthcare system that we have in India. I mean, an average doctor at a government hospital is seeing anything between 150 to 200 patients a day. So of course, like there's the burden gets shared between different doctors posted in this act against the supply. So definitely this demand and supply gap is one of the main contributors towards us and our seniors, which is the doctors, not being able to fulfill the expectations of the
Yes.
the patients. So like we know that one of the main contributors towards violence against doctors is miscommunication. Right from the first year, I as a medico, we've been taught in our ATCOM classes, attitude and communication classes, what are the elements of effective communication, where all we go wrong, which leads to miscommunication, which foments violence. But my point is, if I'm having to see 100 patients per day, like you can easily calculate the time that I can allot to each patient.
Yes.
So it is not possible for any doctor to pay justice to the effective communication or the elements of effective
Arka, since you're
communication.
speaking of the communication, before I go to Manikandan, I have another question for you. I was speaking to a senior professor of psychology from AIMS itself last week, and the point of view I got was that doctors, who are in their, formative years, say perhaps first year, second year, students of MBBS, they are not taught proper way of communication. Look, we all empathize and sympathize with patients' casualty. I think Manikandan also said extremely sensitive department. How important, significant is really each and every word, really the language, the vocabulary you use with the patients? Is that really taught to you all in great detail, or could that be done better?
I think there's a catch here because until very recently, there was little or no focus towards effective communication when it came to training a medical undergraduate, especially in India, right? But recently, that the NMC has been established by abolishing the MCI, and they have released a new curriculum, which is the competency-based curriculum. And if I'm not wrong, the medical curriculum in India has been revised after almost 2 decades. So there we have the NMC has specifically allotted a fixed number of hours each year for ATCOM, which is attitude and communication. So yes, the recent batches that have passed out recently, those batches, they have not undergone that.
So why don't I take you to Manikandan? Manikandan, did you have, as far as communication is concerned, the right vocabulary, the right words when it comes to using the relatives of patients? Were you taught that? And I ask you this because, as we discussed right at the onset of this debate, junior doctors, you all are the ones who are at the forefront. You, unfortunately, are the ones who are left alone with patients, relatives, when it comes to casualty.
So the effective communication between the patient and the doctor is the one which lacks in doctor community a lot. I have to agree that, because during my undergraduation, it has not been taught to me.
Okay.
And as another doctor said, it has been recently introduced in our curriculum. So what we have to do is we have to re-educate the doctors who have already passed out by CME programs. So that can be done, or it can be added to the post-graduation schemes also. So what I think is, even after adding into our undergraduate curriculum in the recent NMC regulations, it needs further restructuring also, because it has been given separate marks. So only if you give separate marks, it has to be taken into the valid portions by the medical students. So it has to be taken into importance has to be given to the effective communications.
All right. Due importance to effective communication, but Arta, you also made actually both of you already made that point. When we speak of burden, on the doctor community, especially when it comes to institutes like AIMS or perhaps, public institutions, what should the government do? We all know the healthcare spending, it's less than 1% of our GDP, which is extremely low when we compare ourselves to even nations which are not even doing as well off as us. Our healthcare spending is actually shameful, to say the least.
I think.
Yes.
Yeah. Dr. Manikandan, please go ahead.
Yes. As you rightly mentioned, the healthcare budget should be increased up to 8% allocation of our overall budget. So once we do that, we can restructure and restrengthen our public health sector. So the more
Okay.
violence are faced in public health sector than compared to the corporate hospitals, because people who come into the corporate hospitals, they can just put the admission for the patient and they will listen whatever the corporate hospital says, because
You're speaking of patients will listen to the corporate hospitals, but there is really a mindset problem from the patient's point of view as well when it comes to your private hospitals. When COVID happened, at the peak of the second wave, there were many hospitals. There were a few, of course, who were overcharging for beds. ICU bed per day, the cost was running in lakhs and lakhs. It was really the marginalized, even middle class, who knew that big private hospitals are totally out of their reach. The rich were getting beds easily. The poorer or lower middle strata, of course, was struggling. Would you say, Arka, and I'll come to you, Manikandan, on this point as well, once again. I'm just going to take the point forward. Profiteering by private sector, or at least the fear of this supposed profiteering by doctors, is that also adding to the public this resentment against the medical community?
Absolutely. I think the fundamental question that we need to ask here is that the country needs to decide first whether healthcare is a fundamental right,
Okay.
or whether healthcare is a commodity, right? So the two can't go side by side, because like when you say healthcare is a right, that is a socialist philosophy wherein it is the government which has the constitutional obligation to fulfill towards its people and ensure that everybody has a minimum level of healthcare, and that healthcare has to be disbursed through public healthcare system. Now, the thing is, in India, we really don't know the answer to this question, because we have, due to consistently low spending on healthcare, we right now have a huge gap when it comes to public healthcare infrastructure. And we have allowed the private players to come in and fill that gap, that healthcare need, right? So, and private healthcare. So the private healthcare industry is driven by profit, and we have, commodified healthcare, which is driven by market forces and which is driven by profiteering, which is driven by the demand and supply and everything, right? As you rightly pointed out, the demand and supply became a big issue during the second wave of the pandemic. So if in that case of in that kind of a situation, it becomes a very difficult, proposition.
So you speak
ultimately
of,
the basic. Yes,
yes.
Let me just complete this. Ultimately,
Yeah, sure.
the basic philosophy is, if there is a public resentment, or if there is a fear of profiteering, what you said, with respect to the private healthcare industry, the solution to this has to be strengthening the basics, which is strengthening the public healthcare system.
Isn't the focus really till date on tertiary? Look at Ayushman Bharat also. When we speak of universal healthcare, right now at the top of my head, I can think of Ayushman Bharat, 5 lakh, cover for the lowest strata of the society. That sounds pretty good, but when you really look at it, Manikandan, you could come in at this point of time, primary healthcare still suffering in our country, and there seems to be no focus on that.
Hello?
Yes, please go ahead.
Yes. To strengthen the public health sector, it has to be started from the villages, as I said. It should be started from the primary health centers. So if we start improving the facilities in the primary health centers, so it will reflect in the overall health index of the country. So we have to strengthen our public health sector by increasing our budget and improving the medical practitioners in employing the public health sector.
All right, so we've covered a plethora of topics, from focusing on public spending, government spending on healthcare sector, to the change in attitude, mindset of people, which is required, of course, to even when it comes to medicals, when it comes to junior doctors, the language, the communication skills, extremely important. This has been a riveting conversation. I could continue this forever. Arka, last word to you. Other than these 3 points which we have discussed, any other suggestion which you'd like to give to curb, to check this menace of violence against doctors?
I think one message that I would, like to send across to the general community, that is the non-medical, community in general, would be that, with the advancement of medical science, our mortality rates for all diseases have reduced drastically. But we have to understand that patients are not immortal. Human beings are not immortal. So with all the advancement in the world, there is still a possibility of people dying of severe debilitating diseases. But the thing is, like, people tend not to be able to accept that when it happens in their own family, and that initial reaction or that emotional outburst is often responsible for these kind of violent incidents against doctors. So that is one message that needs to be spread across to the entire community in general.
Right.
And apart from that, one last comment that I would like to make
Please
is
go ahead.
that we do have, quick comment, we do have laws, but it is political goodwill which is required for the implementation of those laws. So with a sound law enforcement and a combined approach of sound law enforcement and a change in the attitude of the patients, I think that's the way ahead.
So, Manikandan, as the
towards
Junior
curbing this
Doctor
menace.
Association and IMA has been demanding, would you also speak of a central legislation? Currently, what we have is quite toothless when it comes to really nailing down the person who's assaulted a doctor. The IPC, to begin with, is not very clear for policemen. Would you like to reiterate the demand that both Junior Doctors Association and IMA have been making for over a year? And one more thing, as Arka spoke about mindset of people, the first line I remember you said, quote unquote, your lines, sick mindset of people. How do you change that mindset? We are showering petals on doctors. We have big campaigns like News that's also doing now, Save Our Saviors, but that really seems to have no effect.
Yes, as I represent the Junior Doctors Association, IMA is fighting for a sturdy and airtight law for long term. For almost a decade, we are fighting for a law. See, already we have a health is under a COPRA Act, Consumer Protection Act. So many medical legal cases are coming against doctors. So doctor has to be more concerned about the medical legal problems also in writing and investigation. So what I suggest is we need a central law. So as you said, health is a state subject. So currently we have a state laws in managing any assault on violence. So what we need is a central law. So it will be having an IPC and CRPC. It will be easy for the police personnel to get a result for a victim. So that's what I suggest. We need a central law. And regarding the educating the patient, we are doing several campaigns. We did so many campaigns on behalf of doctors associations. So in spite of all those campaigns, what difficulty we are facing is there is another campaign is going on simultaneously against doctors, which is by the movies. In movies, doctors are portrayed in very bad light. Yes, it has to be told and it has to be documented. So many medical associations and even few research papers.
Which movies? I don't have enough time, but still I'm intrigued. Which movies? I'm just intrigued to ask you that. Too tempted, even though I'm running out of time.
I want to mention here there are two movies in Tamil Nadu which made a great impact in the mindset of the people. The first movie is Ramana and the second movie is Mercer. So the movie said the whole medical scheme itself, the medical health checkup itself is a scam. So even after writing a common blood count, we faced difficulties in the casualties because these are the movies are acted by a very big actors. Those actors are influencing like 4 to 5 crores of population of a state. So while making movies, there has to be some.
I get your point. To summarize what you are saying is, of course, the right messaging, be it, of course, entertainment portals, be it movies. It's the right messaging which needs to be sent across. And I really hope, viewers, that through this discussion, we have been able to send the right message. And I hope it goes beyond just lip service. Hope you all watching, listening, really listen to these medicos, junior doctors. They are our saviors. Many campaigns done. This is the last episode, the last show of our campaign on violence against doctors. Let's take the least we can do is not assault them, not act aggressively. As the doctor said, they are trying their level best. Let's try to understand their limitations as well. On this note, I'd like to close the program and this campaign. Hope, of course, someone in the government, policymakers, lawmakers are watching. Hopefully, central legislation comes at the earliest. Thank you both of you for joining us on this riveting conversation. Other interviews of medicos, of doctors, etc., available on our social media done by the Medically Speaking team. Take a look at it, like and subscribe our page as well. Thank you.
we have with us Dr. Prashant, convener of IMA Medical Students Network. Welcome, sir. My first question to you, since you are going to become professionals very soon, is it intimidating for you to think that you may have to face such a situation of violence in the near future? Is it demotivating for you because medical students have put in a lot of effort to achieve their goals?
But then it definitely, lowers your spirit in the sense that you would not expect that you would have to face it ever in your lifetime. As in, if you take any other profession for that concern, your job is secure with respect to your physical, attributes. In the case scenario, as in that you would not have to face violence from a third person whom you have no clue of. And this happens on a day-to-day scenario in our field, wherein every single day and every single hour we get reports of violence of against doctors, meted out by relatives or maybe the closest of kin. And this is not something that is to be taken in the right spirit either. Definitely, go against it and stand for your rights so that you do not stand the loser at the end of the day.
So, my next question to you goes, what do you think is the probable cause of such incidents happening with the lifesavers, with who have battled across the pandemic?
Well, such incidents, if you get to see, it is more because of a miscommunication that occurs with the patient, and the relatives and the doctor fraternity as well. I would not just broaden it to the doctor fraternity, but then it's also every single healthcare worker that counts. From the staff nurse to the supporting staff who help you even take instruments. Every single person counts, and what they deliver to the family and the next of kin is what makes all the difference. And even otherwise, if you get to see the level of understanding, at the emotional breakdown, that is what again makes a huge difference and a paramount feeling to it. Also because the family is going an emotional turmoil, and they will definitely feel loosened and grief stricken when the news of the patient being dead is being told to the family. And for them,
True.
the doctor is supposed to save the patient no matter what condition they bring the patient in. And this is more of a miracle that happens, as in if the patient survives, then it is the god who is attributed to, and if the patient dies, it is because of the doctor. So such preconceived notions that exist in the in the kith and kin, and that miscommunication, as in they're not able to understand the consent that's being delivered to them at such short notice, and the procedures that are being done, especially in an emergency scenario. So I believe these are certain factors that rather cause such trouble, and that is what culminates at the end of the day at violence.
Right, sir. But what is your suggestion to probably your juniors or maybe the aspirants who want to join the medical field?
Well, if you ask me for, what advice I would render to my juniors, it would first be that they equip themselves with all the measures possible, in such a contingency. Considering the case that, such incidents might happen anytime in your lifetime and you never know when, you definitely need to be prepared beforehand to face such incidents. And I guess that should be part of the training as well. So the first in hand would be that
So
they, handle it with calm and
this
ease.
training should be should the institutes, medical institutes, would you get? Is it a message for the medical institutes to include this training in their curriculum?
Well, it is already part of the curriculum. If you see the recent 2019 curriculum, which was redesigned by the National Medical Commission. So that again, has envisaged the importance of communication and ethics in the medical
Ethics.
practice.
Right.
So just to the NMC for that. And again, so if you get to see how far that is being, implemented in the medical institutions, then it is maybe a dismal number. And that is seeing a forward rise as days progress. And I'm sure maybe in the years to come, it will attain finality and improvements as well. So apart from that, if you get to see the communication skills that are to be rendered by the practitioner and the way they would handle that situation, it definitely needs to be with ease and peace. And they will have to, inform the emergency team, as in the police or the guards who would stay outside the intensive care units. And every single hospital is stationed with a guard. So I guess that is the first thing that they will have to do, and maybe because violence against doctors is something that has been happening for quite a few years now. And we've been demanding from the IMA for a Central Establishment Act against the perpetrators of the crime. And with respect to the COVID pandemic, the government has again instituted the Epidemic Act, and they've brought in perpetrators of the crime for imprisonment of a couple of years, of around 6 to 12 years. So rigorous imprisonment has been envisaged by the law as well. And I guess that law has to take its course. And when things go beyond hand, I'm sure, self-protection is definitely covered under the law as well. And every single medico and every single practitioner must take all efforts to get themselves protected first, whatever be the case. Irrespective of what the perpetrators of the crime are supposed to be doing, I believe that self-protection is ideal and they need to, take care of that first.
Yes, tell me, as a representative of the future doctors of the nation, what is your message to the layman?
To the layman, if you'd ask me, I would only say that the layman has to understand that the doctors are working for the welfare of the patient, and no doctor will definitely want to lose a patient for no reason. As in, a doctor is again rated by his success rate and the way he delivers patient care to his patients. And I'm sure that no doctor, would like to spoil his reputation for that concern. And doctors are being, preconceived as money minting machines, and as people who extract money out of the patient for maybe investigations or for consultations and all for flimsy reasons. That is all what the public has to say. But then that is completely not the case. And I'm sure that they've been driven by these preconceived notions, more by all olden age adages. As in that, someone goes and says that this doctor hasn't seen my patient well, and it's just a word of mouth that they turn and spread it out. I would rather say that they themselves go seek advice from the doctor and maybe clarify things from the doctor. And I'm sure no doctor would, lose patience to clarify things to their patients. And I'm sure that as doctors, we've been taught this for more than 5.5 years and 3 years of post-graduation and another 3 years of super specialty. And having invested 11 years into our practice, none of us would, want to spoil it by any means. So this is something that the patients have to understand. And, in whatever best that we can do, we always give it. And I'm sure that the patients have to understand this to the level best and support us at that crucial moment rather than, opposing or losing confidence at the point when they have to, give us their fullest support.
Thank you so much for joining us, sir. I hope that we spread a positive message and we pledge to free the medical community from the attacks. Let us stand united against this violence this Independence Day. Show your support. Follow us on Facebook, Twitter, YouTube, and Instagram, and visit our website www.medicallyspeaking.in. Thank you so much for joining us, sir.
Much for the opportunity, and I'm sure that the Save the Saviors campaign from the IMA will definitely see the light of the day, and I'm sure that the days to come will be the best for the doctor fraternity and for the public as well.
For more such videos, subscribe to the NewsX YouTube channel, hit the bell icon.